Good morning.
How much did you spend taking your three sons to Sheffield?
Yes, quite a lot of money because they all fancied a drink and something to eat on Saturday, and so the bill was huge.
Was it money well spent, Peter Bleksley?
In terms of spending time with my three boys, it was wonderful and worth every penny. In terms of value for money from the 90 minutes of football we watched,
you learnt to answer questions by being a copper all those years. Let's crack on. Front page of The Sun, the Beebs' billion-dollar bungle. I'd love your take on this. Mine is very quickly. I think the sadness, completely get where Trump's come from, I think the sadness is all the idiots like Ed Davey and everybody are now saying this is the BBC that's being attacked by a foreign body and it's a fine and upstanding institution. No, it's not.
If Ed Davey stuck to water slides, I'd be a lot happier. That's really where he needs to remain quiet. Look, this splicing of the interview is so egregious and is so in defiance of what the BBC says it exists for. It's so very serious that I was kind of thinking, this must be illegal, mustn't it? And of course, now, whilst it might not be criminal, it most definitely is worthy of civil action, and Donald Trump has quite rightly, understandably, put the BBC on notice. Make a fulsome apology, make it public, sort it out, or else legal action will follow. And I do not blame him. It is such a fundamental breach by an organisation that calls itself the national broadcaster.
And I think there's the point, because you would want your national broadcaster, we were saying this yesterday, weren't we, to be impartial, to be unbiased. But we all know, and I know what people say. They say, oh, you know, you Talk is a centre-right organisation that's putting the boot into the BBC. No, not at all. I just see a landscape, Pete, that's changed over the last few years. Television, how we receive our news, everything has changed. People get them off their phones. They get them from the New Talk app. Please do download it as soon as you can. All those sorts of things. And people go, right, so it's like the situation with this country. People go, so I'm being forced to pay out 175 quid for something that I don't actually want to watch. How come this level playing field for everybody else means that the BBC gets extra incentives? And then people look at it and then they go, and in the sense of like being given money willy-nilly, you have a left-leaning agenda. We listed it yesterday, the Hamas documentary that turned out to be voiced by a Hamas official's son. You think about, I mean, sorry, Ed Davey, and all of you, you know, you think about, I can't even remember his name. What's that newsreader, the paedophile? Hugh Edwards, right? I would, if I was Tim Davey, I would have not rested until I ensured that I got that man's pension back. There are people paying their taxes in this country thinking we're paying for a paedophile to walk around every day and do whatever. Martine Croxall, the newsreader who dared to change pregnant people to pregnant woman and got internally investigated. Gary Lineker, Bob Vylan. He was at Glastonbury, Tim Davey was at Glastonbury and allowed that vile anti-Semite to be broadcast on the streaming section for 5 hours. This isn't just about Donald Trump, but it is interesting, is it not? Because we had government sources telling us yesterday, we got this officially on Morning Glory, that they had lent on Tim Davey and Deborah Turness to go because Trump was angry. Trump will be the focus. This is much, much more. I believe it's been rotten to the core for ages.
And so many of those examples, and I'm going to pick up on Bob Vylan, if I may, just clearly shows that in so many regards, the organisation is employing people who are morally bankrupt. If you are sitting there with a bank of screens in front of you, doing the live coverage from Glastonbury, you're BBC trained, you're a state employee in essence, and the minute you hear that vile creature shout, death, death, you go flick the switch, cut it off. You make an editorial decision there and then to stop that.
Completely agree.
And people did not. It's such an easy thing to do, to pull the plug, cut to something else. They've got acres of cameras, loads of cameras, loads of footage, loads of presenters there. They could quite easily have gone bump. that's enough, and now we cut to.
But the issue is, you talked about BBC training, you talked about, you know, the state employee, which I haven't heard, and I think it's absolutely fantastically described, because when you're paying your money, the state I mean, what was it you said yesterday? £5.39 billion they get in terms of the licence fee and the offshoots, merchandise and commissioning rights and all of that. There is no doubt, whether you work on Talk or you work anywhere else, that if you look at the BBC in a dispassionate way, you would say that their ideology is to the left, that they have been anti-Israel and pro-Hamas, that the transgender debate. I am all, by the way, whatever anybody says, I'm all for both sides of the argument, but what hacks me off so much about the whole way this country's going, and the BBC to me typifies this, is we have this generation that say, this is my view, and I say to them, that's great, this is my view. You know, your view is misogynistic, sexist, homophobic, racist, fascistic, and you need to be cancelled and trodden into the earth. I think a democracy means that everybody should be able to have an opinion. The BBC do not put both sides. Fact.
And, unfortunately, if I want to listen to the enemy or read the enemy, and I'm talking about in political terms, of course, I know exactly where to go, to what list presenters to listen to, or what paper to pick up. And they make no secret of their allegiances.
Of course they don't.
And that's fine. And I do sometimes, because I want to know what the enemy's thinking.
Absolutely.
So I go and have a listen. Probably to have a laugh, probably to listen to some very unhinged people spouting absolute cobblers, but it gives me a window into what those of a political persuasion different to mine is thinking. We should not go to the BBC for that. The BBC should be impartial, and yet time and time again it has fundamentally failed on that front.
This is really interesting. Deborah Tenness, who was the CEO, the head of news, on her way into the BBC yesterday, not even, no contrition at all. The BBC, she said, is not institutionally biased. This is Deborah Tenness yesterday.
I would like to say it has been the privilege of my career to serve as the CEO of BBC News and to work with our brilliant team of journalists. I stepped down over the weekend because the buck stops with me. But I'd like to make one thing very clear. BBC News is not institutionally biased. That's why it's the world's most trusted news provider.
But that's why you stepped down, because it was proven that she'd edited a speech by Donald Trump because you are institutionally biased, which is why you stepped down, you duplicitous witch.
Would they splice a speech of the King to give it a false representation, or the Queen, or the Prince or Princess of Wales?
You know what I'm going to say to you? And I'm being completely serious. I know I joked with the Tory Andrew Griffiths on the round yesterday, said to me on the BBC later, he went, yeah, I went, be careful. Do we know who they splice, who they edit? You're absolutely right what you said just now. If you want to get a left view, you read The Guardian, you go to certain things. If you want to get a right view, you probably go to The Telegraph or whatever. You know what happens here, you know what happens at other stations. The BBC, I think, their job is to try and be all things to all people. But if you look what they did to Cliff Richard. They utterly destroyed Cliff Richard's career. Look how long they shielded Jimmy Savile. Do you remember the abhorrence that Boris Johnson was treated when he dared to stand up in the Commons and say, Starmer, you were the Director of Public Prosecutions, you did nothing about the BBC and Starmer, and they all went, oh, this is outrageous. No, it's not. They have been, I think, biased and not impartial for years, and I believe that this is a really seminal moment. But of course, you know, again, front of the Mail, Trump tells the BBC grovel, I love him, or I'll sue you for $1 billion. It's all going to be about Trump. It needs to be looked at differently than that, in my humble.
Impartiality is not easy.
No.
I'll grant them that. It takes discipline, and it takes a particular mindset of people who are employed and leave their politics in the locker. That takes discipline.
But that's the charter, that's your job, that's what you have to do.
Exactly. Police officers have to do that. Yep. I know it's not a broadcasting thing, but you have to leave any kind of bias that you have in the locker. When you put on that hat and you go out, everything, your own views, your personal opinions on things, on politics, on race, on religion, You leave it in the locker. And that is what the BBC, if it is to save itself, needs to reconnect with. Leaving it in the locker.
Really interesting as well. Lots of the, I'm going to play an idiot in a minute. Lots of politicians, led by Nigel Farage, who was on the show yesterday, Richard Tice as well, Andrew Griffiths and Kemi Badenoch as well, were all saying, look, this is yes, a seminal moment, but it's your last chance. The BBC is still, in terms of the BBC World Service, revered in parts of the world, but there is this disconnect, which is, look at traitors, look at the sport. The Lionesses was on the BBC, was watched by 12.2 million people. Look at, Strictly Come Dancing. But that side that works is undermined, I think, massively by their news output, which is heavily biased and woke and liberal/lefty. And yet that whole thing is paid for by the licence fee. There is not a news outputted station, Pete, in the world that can be financed by advertising or sponsorship or anything, and that's what impartiality is about. I believe the BBC should be broken up. I believe that I don't believe that the licence fee works. I think there should be a level playing field where people who love traitors, who love the Lionesses, who love the sport, buy that, like they do everywhere else. As for the BBC, the news output, why would I want to contribute to that when it blatantly, whether I agree or disagree with their politics, they waste so much money and so much time, I think, just not concentrating on the things that matter.
As a bit of an aside,
yes,
if the BBC were to have a sports subscription channel, hardly anybody would pay their money for it, because the BBC have sold off virtually all the crown jewels of sport that they used to have, like Test match cricket and Premiership football and the such like, other than highlights. So I don't think that would be very cost effective in the slightest. We can't have this conversation without mentioning BBC Arabic, of course, which has come in for so much criticism because of what many people perceive as an unvarnished bias, an obvious bias. And so it goes.
BBC verify billions, well, millions, to set up to look at themselves. I mean, extraordinary waste of money. Loads of response already. Sean in Gloucester, good morning, gang. He says, I'm 100% behind Trump suing the BBC. They have deliberately fabricated a downright lie, and it's not the only time. Scrap the licence fee and make them compete on the open market and watch them close down because nobody likes them. Talk, oh no, poor BBC. It's had the Starmer curse of backing. Louis in York says he reckons the BBC will be gone in 48 hours. That usually happens if Stalin backs you. Bonjour, Jez. Shane from a gloomy, dark Bournemouth. The TV licence fee should be abolished. Hardly anyone watches the BBC now, and it's just their way of strong-arming money from the public for their own gratifications. Interesting. Tim says, why is the BBC acting like the victim, Jez, when the real victims are the people of Britain who pay money to be subjected to lies? And in North Yorkshire, Jackie, good morning to you. She says, talking about the BBC, just imagine for a minute, tell Pete this, she says, that some news stations had done this the opposite way round on Donald Trump. Imagine for a minute that the video clip was the other way round, that Donald Trump was an unhinged man that wanted American citizens to fight like hell. But to put him in a better light, it was doctored to show him wanting a peaceful protest. I bet that news station would be shut down.
Very good point.
I mean, it is so biased, and it is not. It is. I mean, a lot of people were yesterday saying, it's really, you're just digging at the BBC. No, I think it goes much deeper than that. In the Times today, the BBC's coverage of the US presidential election was found to be markedly anti-Trump and pro-Hamas. Oh no, pro-Harris. I did that deliberately. In an internal review by a senior BBC editorial advisor. I mean, so much of what they do. But, ladies and gentlemen, let's not fear. One of the most effective politicians ever to grace our screens and our radios, a man who won 72 seats in the last election with a diverse and forward-thinking array of policies. Sorry, no, actually, he used to put on a wetsuit and jump into pools of water, and he somehow managed. This is Ed Davey, proving yet again that the Liberal Democrat leader is barking bloody mad.
The BBC News is the most trusted news source in the world, and we should be really proud of it. It's typical of British values. Of course, there's the odd mistake they make. I have to say, Donald Trump makes many, many more, as does Nigel Farage. And so the fact that Nigel Farage is basically teaming up with President Trump to criticise the BBC is shocking. It's unpatriotic, it's wrong, and it shows that he wants Trump's America, with his attacks on free media, coming to the UK.
The odd mistake, Peter Bleksley.
Tell me what part of wanting a state broadcaster to tell the truth is unpatriotic. How is that unpatriotic?
It's not.
It's the very essence of patriotism that you want the state broadcaster to tell the truth, be impartial, and be renowned around the world. That's patriotism.
Yeah.
Not unpatriotic. Honestly, Ed Davey, really. Whoosh, splash, stick to that.
Honestly, and again, just picking up on what he said, apart from we've had the odd mistake. What, allowing a paedophile to destroy people's lives? The main newsreader being allowed to get away with pensionable amounts of money? Allowing Bob Vylan, the anti-Semite, to be on your station? Allowing... honestly, just the rug go on. I could go on and on. What planet is Ed Davey on? What bleeding planet is... How did anybody give him 72 seats?
He's not on the planet that I occupy, I'm pleased to say.
But he is also, which is what I wanted to say this morning, he's also, for me, the concern, because all the detractors will say, this is just Trump having a go at the BBC, and I will forever sit here and say it is much more to that. Later on, by the way, we've discovered that Tim Davie is holding, what do they call it, like an open forum. He's basically... It's like an online meeting for every single member of the BBC to explain how he's going, why he feels he should go, blah, blah, blah. I don't know when that is, but I'm pretty sure somebody's going to be inside there with a mobile phone, and we'll have that on Talk later on. Your thoughts this morning, please, on the BBC. Don't we love them? Not. 0344 499 1000, your telephone number for your voice notes and your calls, and 87222. Start your messages with the word talk. I'm going to go to a break with a calm Bleksley down. We're back in 3. Welcome back to Morning Glory, 6:25, Tuesday morning, the 11th of November. An important day for all of us. Armistice Day, of course. The agreement that ended the First World War between the Allies and Germany, forever known. The people that put their lives on the line for us. We go on about this the whole time. I thought it was interesting yesterday to hear from so many of you about how Remembrance Sunday had been massively popular this year, that far more people were out showing their respects to the fallen heroes of yesteryear. Interesting when you consider the debate about flags and all of that. Doom and gloom, yes, right? And you look at, I mean, there was that terrible interview with Alex Penstone, that 100-year-old veteran yesterday, saying, why did so many of my brothers give their lives up when I look at this country? Just a little side thought for Armistice Day. What is still great about Great Britain? We'd love to hear from you. What is still great about Great Britain? 87222. Start your message with the word talk. PB, what's great about Great Britain still?
The red poppy. And I've seen so many people wearing them this year. It's been an absolute source of huge pride for me. I'm on red alert for it because I am at this time of year and I like to see people wearing them. And so when I'm travelling on the tubes and on trains and all of that, I've seen a significant number of people wearing them. Not because it's some kind of allegiance, not because it's some kind of showing off kind of thing, but people part with their hard-earned money to benefit veterans who have volunteered and sometimes sacrificed everything for our nation, and we wear it as a symbol of gratitude and pride, and that's what's great about Britain.
Thank you. Yeah, great words. I completely agree. 87222. Start your message with the word talk. What, my friends, is still great about Great Britain? Back to the BBC. Yesterday, Samir Shah, the chairman, slightly humiliatingly had to apologise. Civil war, we know, is erupting. Does Deborah Turness's assistant or deputy head of news, Jonathan Munro, does he survive? Does Samir Shah survive? How high does this go? What about the board? For me, the BBC is going to have to reinvent itself. This was its chairman yesterday admitting it doctored Trump's speech.
The apologising is for the way the team edited President Trump's speech to his supporters on January the 6th.
It was a mistake, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
A mistake? The chairman of the BBC. Deliberately doctoring the speech of a participant in the presidential election. Here's something I said earlier to the team, and I don't know the answer to this. I don't know if we can find this out. This was a speech that was rehashed, recut, re-edited markedly by the BBC in 2024 when Donald Trump stood to be the 47th President of the United States. I'm asking a question this morning. Was that speech also doctored by the BBC in 2021 after he lost the election to Biden? Do we know if it was doctored at that point? It'd be interesting to find that out. But there's no doubt you could look at that and go, you were trying to influence voting patterns.
There is no mistake about it. It was a deliberate, egregious act of dishonesty.
Completely
it was
agree.
Dishonesty, not a mistake.
Talking about dishonesty, I thought yesterday, come on, Starmer, you can stand up to the plate. No. Page 8 of the Mail, Sir Dreary Starmer, showing himself to be what he always is, a bit of a lame duck. PM ducks the demand to ditch the licence fee. He'll be sat in number 10 Downing Street trying to work out whether people's opinions in this country outweigh what focus groups tell him his own party might or not be thinking. But the truth is that he said the BBC via a spokesman is stronger than ever. Well, It's not, is it, Starmy? I mean, it isn't. It isn't stronger than ever. It's on its knees.
And he probably said this from Brazil, didn't he? Is he still out there?
Is he
still in Brazil?
I don't know if I don't know if they finished tearing the rainforest down so they can make way for their gas-guzzling jets. No, apparently he's back from COP30.
Is he really?
Yes, he is, yes.
Well, we might get to see him in the UK.
No, don't be so... No.
Never hear Keir.
Good morning to Slim from Burnley. Been on the Madeira, obviously. Good morning, Jez. Notice Ed Davey got in his usual dig about Farage. Just proves that Nigel is living rent-free in his head as well as Starmer's. Couldn't agree more. Adrian, a very good morning to you, sir. I reckon, he says, it needs to be made public what severance pay, what golden handshake and what pensions Tim Davey and Deborah Tennessel receive from the publicly funded organisation. They, says Adrian, completely right here, resigned in disgrace for a litany of ill-judged decisions and ultimately for deliberately allowing lies to be broadcast. They deserve nothing. Pete, good morning to you.
Good morning, Jeremy. Well, if Keir Starmer's back in the BBC, well, we can just get rid of them both in one go, can't we? Get rid of the BBC, get rid of Starmer, and get rid of Labour. Also, this why are they trying to back the BBC? I'll tell you what, there'd be a bookie's dream down a bloody horse racing track, wouldn't they? They'd be losing all the time. What a shower of you-know-what.
Brilliant. What a great start to Tuesday. And by the way, you couldn't go and have a bet because under this government they want to destroy betting shops and the whole betting industry, but more of that at another venture. Can we go to something... I mean, we've dealt with the BBC. You've let off a bit of steam. You're now going to see Peter Bleksley self-combust, I think, live on Talk. How do I do this? Today, it has been proven... You know this one-in, one-out migrant thing? Oh, God, calm down, man. This is the agreement with France.
Yes.
Page 17 of The Sun. A second hokey-cokey migrant has made his way back into Britain after being removed to France after the controversial one-in, one-out scheme. Basically, we sent him a few weeks ago, and on Remembrance Sunday, whilst we were wearing our poppies and remembering the fallen, he slipped back into Britain in a dinghy for the second time. Again, Downing Street insisted the detection of a second one-in, one-out migrant returned to the UK showed that the system was working. We're back there again. What planet is Starmer on? It shows, by the way, we deport somebody, they're back days later, and according to Starmer's spokesman, that shows the system's working. Peter Bleksley, good morning.
Mr. Kyle,
yes,
that is not the illegal immigration story of today.
Oh.
Because let me tell you, between Thursday and Sunday, yesterday's figures are not available yet, and it did rain a lot, didn't it? And the wind blew a little bit.
Be nasty, wouldn't it?
The sum total across those 4 days, Thursday to Sunday, 2,121 illegal migrants entered the UK via 30 dinghies. And let me just read something from the government website for absolute clarity here, so there can be no confusion whatsoever. Under the title, What We Do, this is what your government, our government, claims.
My government?
Our government.
OK.
The first duty of the government is to keep citizens safe and the country secure. The Home Office plays a fundamental role in the security and economic prosperity of the UK. Right. Where exactly in that pledge, in that statement, in that mission statement, does allowing 2,121 illegal migrants, of whom we don't know the background, we don't know the intentions.
We know nothing.
We know nothing about them.
We know nothing.
How does that fit with the statement I just read out?
It certainly doesn't. But you know, you made me look a bit of a git by saying that 2,121 migrants have been let in across the 4 days, and you basically completely superseded the story I was given. I'm going to supersede you now. Do you know the Daily Breakdown?
Go on.
I do. 621 on Thursday, 648 on Friday, 503 on Saturday, and 349 on Sunday, Bleksley. So put that in your pipe.
Yeah. Well, I just added those up, you see, which is why I covered 2,121.
Fact's
simple
right, though,
mathematics.
Fact is absolutely right.
Yeah.
I mean, the again, almost, I feel like it's almost like the BBC, rather mirrors this government, the contempt with which Starmer and his ministers treat so many of us by saying, you know, we've got this agreement with France, so we're giving £500 million a year to, are doing absolutely nothing to stop the boats. But we've got a really good idea, having trashed Rwanda and everything that came before. When we give one in, we're going to give one out, and it has patently failed. And it is. I mean, I think it's a source of national embarrassment, but then, I mean, that's why I brought up the Armistice thing, because if I look at the post office or the infected blood scandal, or I look at the NHS, or I look at the tax situation, I look at this government's ability to make us be humiliated abroad, I think about the child rape gang inquiries, I think about almost everything, the state of our prisons, the state of our judiciary, and people tell me this is Great Britain. I want on Armistice Day to go, what's great? But when you read this, you just think this bunch of incompetent idiots are dragging us so far down.
But it goes beyond the word that you just used, embarrassment. This is endangering people.
Yeah, I agree.
It's why I read out that statement, and I adopt a very sombre tone when I say this. Look at the illegal migrants that in recent weeks have been convicted of murder. OK, let's not forget Rhiannon White. Let's not forget Govinda Johal. Let's not forget people that are being murdered and sexually assaulted, and many more crimes being committed against British people by some of these people who are coming in. And nothing is being done to stop them. Don't give me stop the boats. Don't give me smash the gangs, because 2,121 in 4 days. And the only reason that number isn't bigger across preceding days has been because of the weather. The only thing that protects these shores from these people is Mother Nature, not our government.
Don't shout at me. I'm quite scared of him. I completely agree. And actually, I'd go a stage further and say to you that you know, the sort of lies that are perpetrated, right? We know that these men, and they are majority of men before people jump up and down. They drop their passports 12 miles out. They come from a war-torn country. It's not a war-torn country in France. They don't like a tent. They want a hotel. They're unvetted. They arrive in the United Kingdom. You're absolutely right about the security risk. You're also absolutely right when you say that sheer number of people coming puts huge pressure on public services, and the British public are going, hold on a minute, we're paying for this and we're getting nothing. I saw some commentator, you know, you said at the beginning of this hour that if you want to get, you know, the other view, you read The Guardian or you listen to things. And I saw one of these female women's campaigners who, the story was the Bournemouth story, the man who basically sexually assaulted a girl about a year ago and was brought to court about a month ago, and the judge said this is because he had a very, very hard upbringing and it's a mere aberration. And I went absolutely nuts. And somebody responded, one of those do-gooders, who says it's very easy, you see, for people like Kyle and Talk to criticise illegal migrants, but British white men also sexually assault girls. And I remember thinking, any form of sexual assault is utterly, utterly wrong. But you cannot possibly expect people with a brain cell in their heads to not go, unvetted men who come from a different culture, who perhaps, and this is the really interesting thing for women, have no respect for women, where misogyny is through the roof, come to a different culture and think it's okay. If those people were vetted, talked to, I don't know, they wouldn't be allowed in, or they'd know how to behave. But she wasn't having that. She wasn't talking about the girl that was a victim. She wanted it known that it's easy for people like you and me to say, It's the migrants who are all the sexual assaulters and the rapists. And I just want to make that point.
I've got a couple of things that I'd like to say to that woman, and all of that ilk, all those unhinged lunatic people. And of course, people won't like this, and it's why I don't get invited to certain places and to speak to particular people. Fine by me. Do you know what? If we talk about British values, okay, British values amongst the imprisoned classes was that sex offenders got a blooming hard time. And you know why? Because what they did was deemed unacceptable. Unacceptable by their fellow prison population. Okay? I know it's kind of like picking the best of a bad bunch, but that's how it was. Sex offenders were not accepted. Their behaviour, their criminality was not accepted amongst the wider jail population. And another point I would point out to such a woman is that the modern policing model was established some decades ago, and it was established in the numbers that it was and in the structure that it had to deal with our own garbage, our own rubbish people. That's why the numbers were they were at, so that it was sufficient to maintain law and order. Now, with so many foreign offenders coming into the country, the policing model is being shown to be creaking at the sides, unfit for purpose in many regards, because it's simply not big enough.
Couldn't agree more. He's really wound up this morning. 20 to 7. Coming back, he's going to get even more wound up because apparently Prevent, that wonderful organisation, is no longer... God, he's gone. Is no longer keeping Britain safe. Could you please, Peter Bleksley, say good morning to Patrick Joseph? He's an Uber driver who brought our very own Vanessa in today, and apparently he's a massive, massive fan of the station that is being listened to by more people than ever before. Fact.
Patrick Joseph, may you have passengers in the back of your car all day long.
0344 499 1000 for your voice notes and your calls, on 87222. Get your brains working. On the day, the 11th of November is Armistice Day, the day the Allies and Germany signed that agreement to end the First World War. Actually, my late mother's birthday. What is still great about Great Britain? 87222. Start your message with the word talk. We'll head to a break. Kit, is it Kitty or Kit? Hello? Kitty, I only got... Oh, there you go. Kitty, good morning.
Just regarding the BBC, some of the programmes you mentioned, like Strictly Come Dancing, and then others, when people try to support the BBC, they say EastEnders and Doctor Who. These are decades-old formats and shows, and they've all gone woke, by the way. So there's nothing to be applauded there. And things like Traitors, I think the programme makers are to be applauded for that, and that people who devised it, that won't have been the BBC. And, you know, they should be doing good programmes, so just doing one or two that you can name, that, for me, they don't get any accolades for that. BBC needs to go. If it is so wonderful, as the likes of Esther Ranson, etc. have always said, then people will subscribe to it. But the reality is people won't subscribe to it.
Welcome back. Morning Glory is on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense, where the nation comes to talk. 7:15, Tuesday, the 11th of November, Armistice Day, as I said before the break. What still is great about Great Britain, my friends? 87222. Start your message with the word talk. It's all doom and gloom. We just thought this morning, on such an important day for our forefathers and but the people who put us where we are today, what is still great about this country? People struggling. You wake up to the news at the front of the Sun and every other newspaper that Donald Trump has demanded a full apology from the BBC by Friday, or he could well sue the corporation for £1 billion. Of course, all the detractors, the Nick Robinsons, the Tim Davies, all those do-gooders are going, it's just Donald Trump trying to bring us down. They seem to forget about all the things that have been wrong about the BBC for so long, you know. Hugh Edwards, Gary Lineker, Bob Vylan, the Gaza documentary, the Diana interview, even Strictly needing chaperones. It's not just the one thing, it's loads of stuff, right? The BBC, open warfare today. The chairman apologising yesterday. Lots of you coming on and going, do you know what? I don't think the licence fee's right. I think it should be a level playing field. Keir Starmer proving that he is just the voice of the nation again by releasing a very short statement last night via his spokesman saying the BBC was stronger than ever never. He really isn't at the races. Also, today, you might have heard, the one-in, one-out migrant answer cultivated by the Labour Party is, in fact, falling on its arse, not surprisingly. The latest person that was sent back came back in again about 4 days later. But we're going to give him £500 to make himself feel better. Now, Peter Bleksley, I want you to stay as calm as possible, OK? Rachel Reeves, Richard III, the woman who can't add up, has hinted that she will indeed... We'll sort of scrap this two-child benefit cap, which is, for people who don't understand this, in this country, it's capped. You have 2 children, after which, you know, you need to pay for your kids. I think that's perfectly justifiable. And on the eve of us all knowing that she's about to break her manifesto and introduce income tax raids on all of us, and by the way, not the rich people, the working people the Labour Party purports to support, she's hinted she'll scrap the two-child benefit. So, what is it, £17.25 for an additional child, £26 just over for the first 2. So you can just carry on having kids. Sorry if this isn't popular, but this is my opinion. You can carry on having kids and the state will pay for it. But if you go to work and decide that you can't afford to have children yourself, you're going to be taxed more. And before people text me and go, oh, it's all right for you, Carl, you've got 6 kids. Yes, and I bloody well paid for every one of them. What are your thoughts on this, Pete?
I think this is a way of encouraging the reckless and the feckless, and those who say, I know my rights but don't know their responsibilities, to lay on their backs and have more children.
To the point?
I have 3, as you know, 3 sons, which of course I have paid for. I think, call me old-fashioned, I think have as many children as you can afford. I know it's a bit of an old-fashioned kind of statement, you know what I mean?
You're getting old. This is Rachel Reeves. This is her on the child benefit cap hint. You try saying that.
But I don't think we can lose sight as well of the costs to our economy in allowing child poverty to go unchecked. And in the end, a child should not be penalised because their parents don't have very much money. Lots and lots of different reasons why families change shape and size over time. And I don't think that it's right that a child is penalised because they are in a bigger family through no fault of their own.
At the risk of actually myself imploding at 10 to 7, a child shouldn't be penalised. Child poverty, Rachel, absolutely. But if these people cannot afford to have these children, why should the rest of society, who are struggling with energy, with food, with everything that they are struggling with, make that right? Now, I understand the argument of, I want to have a family, but answer to the hard-working people, Reeves. Answer to the people who pay their bills, their mortgages, and they are struggling. They haven't been on holiday. They're really, really struggling, and they will go, hold on a minute, this is incentivising people, as Peter Bleksley said, to have kids, excuse the pun, willy-nilly, isn't it? Can I, by the way, I've got to do this, it's 10 to 7. Do you want to see the latest Conservative montage on Rachel Reeves?
Oh, if I must.
Oh, come on, sell it to me. Say yes, please, Jez.
Oh, yes, please, Jeremy, that would be wonderful. Make my day.
Good, play it.
Labour will not put up your income tax, national insurance or VAT.
We are having to look at taxes.
I'm really clear. I'm not coming back with more borrowing or more taxes.
There is a question of trust, isn't there? What is the point of a manifesto if it doesn't last a day beyond you being elected into office?
Will your promise not to raise rates on income tax, VAT or employees' national insurance hold good for the whole of this Parliament?
Yes, absolutely. It's an absolute commitment. We've now wiped the slate clean. It's now on us. It's now on us.
It would, of course, be possible to stick with the manifesto commitments, but that would require things like deep cuts in capital spending.
That means taxes are going up again, doesn't it?
Well, I'll deliver the budget in a couple of weeks' time. I have been really clear that we are looking at both taxes and spending as part of this budget.
You've made clear that that manifesto promise is going to be broken.
It's now on us. It's now on us.
Just one thing, which Mark, top button pusher in the world, just made the point. Look at her eyes. She doesn't actually believe herself what she's saying. It's all shifty, isn't it? It's all a bit like that.
These people run the country. No wonder.
Yes.
We're going down the pan. I mean, really, is that the most capable person?
Apparently.
The greatest orator,
She's
the
not
most
an orator.
capable, engaging, charismatic person that the Labour Party can find to run the country's finances.
OK. Listen, I don't even want to talk about the next bit because we're coming back to talk about crime in this country. Are you going to be all right? We're going to have to wheel him out at 7 o'clock. This is Talk Breakfast. A very good morning to you. Welcome back to Morning Glory, 5 to 7, news on the way. Just very quickly, Armistice Day, we asked you what is still great about Great Britain. Was this Fiamma, have we got that right, in Surrey? Great show, love Pete. What's still great about Britain? Our sense of fair play, generosity to those worse off than ourselves, our sense of humour, our creativity and our innovation. It's still all there, if only we believed it. Morning, Pete. Morning, Jez. The thing that I think makes this country great is the fact that a lot of us still believe in patriotism, belief and resilience. Pete, see you in April. Sharon from Staffordshire is very angry. Reeves, you thief, why the hell should I be working to pay for other people's children? No, it's your bloody children. You look after them, not expecting taxpayers to do it. You've right wound me up this morning, Rachel Thief, says that lady. Sharon in Staffordshire. Pete, you've got 4 minutes. I want you to stay calm. This morning, front page of the Telegraph. Prevent, the counter-terrorism scheme even, is no longer keeping the country safe. A shocking report reveals today. Your response, Peter Bleksley?
It took 3 years to compile this report, so I think we can safely say it was pretty thorough. It was carried out by the Independent Commission on Counter-Terrorism, and it says that this Prevent programme needs a radical overhaul. Of course, there is one revolting, disgusting name, please forgive me, viewers and listeners, that I'm going to have to mention because it features prominently in the report. That is Axel Rudabakana, because, of course, he was referred to the Prevent programme 3 times. And part of the reason that he went on to commit his atrocities is because they found no apparent ideology. And apparently the whole Prevent programme is getting very much hung up on this, that a person that's referred to him has to show some kind of ideology, as opposed to just being a wrong-un. Just being a wrong-un doesn't qualify.
Can't call somebody a wrong-un anymore, can you? It's disrespectful. No. Stop doing your impression of the Sweeney. Also in the Telegraph, page 8, record numbers of violent and sex offenders have absconded or broken the terms of their temporary release from prison. Official figures. I mean, this is on the back of Wandsworth, where you could just walk out the front door for a wedding or whatever. We've now got record numbers of violent and sexual criminals absconding. Is this country seriously in the Kazi?
Yeah, we've got 321 of them in the last year, OK? Either failed to return back to jail after getting a maybe home release for the weekend or something like that. They returned late, or they breached the term of their licence. In other words, went on to commit other offences, I would suggest. It's all part of lawless Britain, but I rewind to that statement that I read out from the government not so long ago about their fundamental responsibility to keep us safe.
Yep.
You know, it's part of the social contract. You keep us safe, and in return, we'll go to work, pay our taxes, abide by the law, raise decent children, and be contributing members to society. That's the social contract. They're not keeping us safe. The government are fundamentally failing in their number one pledge to us, the electorate, and our children.
I couldn't agree more. I feel I'm very energised and slightly knackered after that. Peter Bleksley, you are my Tuesday morning salvation.